If you've been selling vintage furniture and art for over 15 years, you really understand what's a quality marker regardless if something is designer or not. Marvin of Benjamin Vintage and Design is an expert at this, so I had to interview him on the Business of Vintage podcast. Marvin, thank you so much for joining me on the first ever episode of the Business of Vintage podcast.
It's my pleasure, and congratulations on your first episode. What an achievement.
Marvin Benjamin is the owner and curator of Benjamin Vintage and Design. In his own words, he's a 20th century man dealing vintage art and decor with a focus on all things funky, unique, and one of a kind. And I mean one of a kind.
I want my space to be uniquely filled with unique things, is the way I've always looked at it.
I love that. And when I was reading your website earlier, I love that you put, I don't get hung up on overly designy things. I go for what I feel is truly unique. And I think that's so evident in your store. There is such a mix of like wild pieces with, you know, some of the greats as well.
That's not to say that I won't get a designer piece if it's a big name, if it happens to fall in my lap. Yeah, sure, I'll take it, but it's not what I seek out. I really want things to be as close to like one of one as possible. It's really my focus.
You can so tell. So when I first had the idea for this podcast, Marvin was the first person that came to mind as a guest, because back when Business of Vintage was simply a twinkle in my eye, Marvin was my confidant, my biggest champion, and kind of like my go-to person for all of my research. So if anyone likes Business of Vintage, you can thank Marvin.
You're welcome, everyone, for the gift of Sloane being in the world. But you did it yourself, please. You're a good, remarkable asset. I want to just remind everybody that this business thrives when we have a good amount of humanity in it. The farther we get away from the intention behind something being made, what the end user wants, how it makes people feel, and frankly, those things are all human. You can't AI your way out of those things. And like, that's why Sloane is such a good fit. You have good energy, you have good flow, and it's just like, why not just sell that? Like, it's great. So I think it was a very natural fit for you, and I'm glad you're doing it, because frankly, we need more people and less computers, AI, poisoning the water, stealing the water, all that.
No, it's so real. And when I was at business school developing Business of Vintage, so often my professors and my peers were like, what if you did an app? What if you did a website? What if you did another online marketplace? And I was like, sure. But I know this industry so well, and it needs a lot more infrastructure that's going to have to happen in a grassroots way if we want vintage dealers to be able to succeed in a way that is comparable to retail brands. So that was one of the big insights that I came to create this business. And I think you kind of helped me see a lot of that as well.
Again, it's evident you're good at this. You're good at the people part of the business. So it's worth focusing on. And also, frankly, nothing to disparage your colleagues and your professors at business school, but that's such a modern way of processing what businesses can be like. Just for example, your favorite dealers out in the country or the world, everyone has good stuff. There's so much stuff. The ones that are the best are the ones that have the most personal touch of the curator, the designer, the decorator, the artist, the collaborator, whatever it is in it. For example, Tim at Dial M for Modern, he's not just my friend and my next door neighbor. He's one of the best shops in the country as far as I'm concerned. He has the best stuff. But the reason that he takes off in the way he does is because he's got that human touch. And he talks to people. He's very good at easing people. It's just the way he naturally is. And I think applying your natural humanity to this business goes a long way, a real long way.
Being compared to Tim is a high compliment. So thank you.
One step above Tim, if anything.
Not possible. But yeah, for those of you who are listening and don't know my story, I spent most of my career at Cherish on their seller experience team, where I coached 1,200 dealers on online sales strategy. And Marvin was one of those lucky dealers who I was in touch with through Cherish. We truly clicked from the start. And when
Hmm.
I shifted my focus to getting an MBA so that I could study the best practices in marketing and retail to translate them to the vintage world, I was so thrilled to have landed in the Chicago area, which is local to Marvin and Benjamin Vintage and Design. So throughout my research for what kind of a business model I was going to take this fledgling idea into, Marvin was my main research and thought partner. And now we've
Hmm.
become truly great friends.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But anyway, I want to dive into more about Benjamin Vintage and Design. Can you take us back to
Sure.
the beginning? How did Benjamin Vintage and Design start?
I've always been a junker. My family didn't have a lot of money coming in. They're all immigrants. I was the first person born in this country. My mom loved garage sales and flea markets and stuff. As soon as I was able to drive, I basically got my driver's license to go to like the Rosemont flea market. I would see things that I knew were worth more money than I was selling it for by a good chunk. So I would just buy it and put it on eBay and do a quick flip. During the recession, like 2009, 2010, I left my job at this stupid call center. It was horrible. People weren't hiring. I was unemployed for a year and a half. It was brutal times. But later, good friend and mentor, Colin Reed, who owned Prairie Land Art and Antiques, he was hiring. He offered me 20 hours a week, $12 an hour. And I was like, I'm going to really struggle to get by if I take this job. But I know I'm going to be happy if I work here. This feels like the right step.
Mm-hmm.
Colin's business grew because we're coming out of the recession. And with it, there was more work. It was one of those really beautiful symbiotic relationships where it's like, as the business grew and I helped it grow, he had to take care of me. So we just grew together. And from there, I learned everything there is to know about the business. Learning all the little intricacies that would differentiate the price and the quality and the desirability was huge, not just by touching things and learning firsthand, but also being able to ask Colin. He always was very happy to teach me things along the way. And that's my learning technique. Some people can read a book, some people can go to a
Yeah.
class. This business is touchy and feely.
Mhm.
Sometimes you could see a picture of something, but when you see it in person, it changes your perception of it radically. So basically, after a while, I just said, I think I'm ready to branch out and do my own thing. When you own the means of production and you own your own business, you have a lower basement but a much higher ceiling. Frankly, it gave me time to grow with training wheels because he was right there and he's like, oh, let me show you how to do QuickBooks. I hate QuickBooks. I like paintings. I don't
Yeah.
care about bookkeeping. But you know what? I got good at it with Colin helping me. And then I branched out. I
Aw.
moved to this building here at 329. And I think I was like, I'm definitely ready to do this. And I did. And so here I am.
Thank you for sharing your story. That is so
Of course.
special. You started alluding to this, but I think what is so interesting about your business is that you're a part of a vintage furniture collective in the Chicago
Yeah.
area. Design at
Yeah.
329, 18 vintage dealers in
Hmm.
one warehouse space. And you each have your own studio, basically, your own individual showroom within
Yeah.
an old office building. I think it's something that I haven't seen elsewhere in the US in the vintage scene. I don't know if you've seen anyone else doing something like this before too, where it's really such a grassroots operation of how you guys all came together and started this collective.
Yeah, I know that people talk about there were spaces like this in New York in like the 90s and the 80s where there
Mm,
was similarly like multi-use buildings that a bunch of dealers all moved into. There were more shopping districts in the 80s, 90s into the early aughts, a place where you could hit up many stores. You could spend the whole day shopping because there was just antique store after antique store. But
mm,
those things unfortunately fizzle out. It's kind of just the way it
mm.
is. There was a little bit of a buzz around this area growing around Grand Avenue here in Chicago. And for a while, the Edgewater part of the city near the lake had a bunch of stores, but then when one goes away, it just starts kind of like dipping down. So what I'm saying is, yeah, there's little pockets of this sort of thing, but it's harder to do because retail space is harder to get. It's harder to launch a business, frankly. It's harder to collaborate with other businesses. And it's like you park in one spot and you
Yeah.
just do it. It's a pretty unique thing. It's kind of beyond looking at it with a vintage mindset because there's nothing that's happened with it with as far as vintage goes. The closest thing really in Chicago we've had is the merchandise mart, where it's one
Mm,
place that has everything, and not just furniture and art, but also fixtures and faucets and lamps and all that.
yeah.
It's 13 floors. It has its own zip code. It's huge. But also, unfortunately, the merchandise mart is not what it used to be because it's harder to sell those kinds of things than it used to be for a number of socioeconomic reasons. We can talk about that forever. But having 18 standalone businesses commit to be like, yeah, I'm going to be here. I want to be part of this bigger thing. I want to offer a gathering of our shared customers a very unique experience. You're not going to find that anywhere in this country, and not at the quality that we do it. We've got good stuff in this building. Yeah.
Seriously, some of the best vintage dealers in the country, like you mentioned ILM already, and definitely top dealers in Chicago, are
Oh,
all
yeah.
under this one roof. It's so incredible. How do you think being a part of a collective has affected your business?
It's an odd thing sometimes, frankly. You have to collaborate, you have to work with each other. Like, I'm generally a friendly guy, I'm a good neighbor. Like, if someone needs a cup of sugar or a shiffer rope moved, I'm there, you know? But also, different people have different needs, and people want to grow the collective this way, some people want to grow it that way. It does provide a struggle. I do think that when you grow a collective, it's usually better to have very agreed upon ideas, rules, and frankly, one voice is always a good thing. That's why the best antique malls work, because there's one or two or a group of owners that dictate all the policy. The thing is, we're making it work here. I think we could be doing better, to be honest. And actually, it's why we've talked to you, Sloan. We want to market this better. But it's hard when you have 18 different business owners. They all have a vision of what they want for marketing and outreach rather than thinking about what should we do collectively. And it's hard. It's a real challenge. I think that we are making it work. We're growing. We're doing good. I do think that we could be better, though, is my thought. We could always be a good step better.
What marketing tactics have you seen really working with the power of the collective behind it? I've done a bunch of videos for Design at
Yep.
329, and there's so many personalities. It's so interesting. Are you feeling like that shared collective is bringing more eyes to your social media pages, etc.?
Definitely. I think every single person in this building has benefited from the collective, where it's like Tim has a lot of followers. He's got one of the elite stores in the country at Dial M for Water. I don't consider it like I'm pilfering followers from him as much as I consider it I gain followers that are also his followers. I have less than a tenth of what he has as far as followers go. But I don't think anybody here views that as a competitive thing. Like, no, we're all like happy to have the same followers. And in the same way that, like, if someone buys a coffee table from Tim, they might buy the sculpture from me that sits on top of it all in one stop. And we all think of it as fairly symbiotic. We gel. And if they don't buy it from one person, it's better that they buy it from one of the homies in the building rather than go to like West Elm or someplace without any real personality. It's like, yeah, Crate and Barrel has cool stuff, but Crate and Barrel mass produces that stuff. Like, who cares? Buy something with some age and some character. But to answer your original question about other marketing, I think that, like, for example, John from Velvet Goldmine, he just puts a flyer in the window or just hands that out. And people come flocking because word of mouth works.
Yeah.
People see there's 100,000 square feet of shopping, vintage. And if we just point out the lamps, the artwork, the furniture, the lighting, the home decor, like those key words that people are always like, what you got over there? It draws people in. It's little things like that that really work. And frankly, beyond that type of word of mouth, I think just buzz is growing. More and more people are aware of it. More and more decorators from across the country are aware of it. Like, we have
That's
designers and
awesome.
decorators that fly in specifically for our open houses. They're like, we don't have this kind of thing in whatever little town or
Yeah.
even from a big city, because if you're coming from LA or New
Yeah.
York,
Yeah.
the prices there are so high that actually coming to Chicago is a bargain for you. But also coming from a
Yep.
smaller city to Chicago, you have access to decor that you wouldn't have anywhere else unless you go to pay exorbitant fees for them. I don't think 329 could exist in another city outside of Chicago. You couldn't do this in Louisville. You couldn't do this in Kansas City.
Yeah.
You also couldn't do this in New York, and you couldn't do it in LA. We still have like working class roots. We're still fairly affordable, and we've always had access to great stuff because it's a huge city. So it's like a nexus of
Yeah.
interests all in one thing. Yeah.
Chicago's the best.
It rules. It's so awesome here.
How do you think that these decorators found Design at 329 if they're coming from all over the country?
Frankly, if someone like Tim posts, or if they follow me and then they see like, well, what is this design of 329? And when they see that, whoa, there's all these dealers, and if we give them the kind of content that reflects the vastness of options here, it's bananas. I mean, Sloan, you've been up and down the building. How long would it take you
Yeah.
realistically to briskly shop? What, 4 hours? Like, if you're really powering through,
More
like,
than that.
especially with like Glenn at Primitive, the new guy on the 10th floor, he's got like 30,000 square feet. He's got a museum where you
Yeah.
buy the stuff. There's so much stuff there.
It's wild. You guys have had some influencers come by recently as well. Have you seen that affect your
Yeah.
foot traffic?
I don't get it. And I admit I don't get it. I'm old. I have to ask people how to do something on my phone all the time. I've just gotten old. And it's not for my generation, frankly. It's for a younger generation. And that's okay. I think it translates for them. Like the younger generation doesn't get their news from a newspaper or a news show or whatever. They get it from TikTok, they get it from YouTube. So, of course, these platforms are going to have a fertile ground for these people to grow and then develop these vast follower bases. And you have to play the game of how to appeal to them. Honestly, it's kind of like anthropologically interesting to me. Like, well, you can just wave your hand and record a video of you walking through a place, and people will come and people will do the thing you tell them to do. It's
Yeah.
honestly fascinating. As much as I am a hater, it's actually kind of cool in some weird ways.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. But if it's like nicely edited, and if it's some of the like oh boy, I forgot her name, Jenny from
A Girl
Chicago,
About
Jenny from
Chicago.
Shop. She's been in the shop a couple times, and she's super nice. And I didn't know who she was, and then she posted this
Yeah.
very nice video, and my shop was heavily featured in her video, and I was like, that's nice. I'm honored
Yeah.
that you think that my stuff is unique enough to present to the world. And then after she came through, God, we had a ton of new people come by that weekend that had never been there. And so I'm very grateful for those kinds of folks. And as much as I'm a hater, honestly, hey, thank you. Girl About
Yeah.
Chicago and others. I really appreciate you guys.
Shout out Girl About Chicago. We love her. I recently saw this really interesting video from this influencer slash content creation expert. Her name is Alexis Barber. I actually was in her sorority back in the day, but she was talking about how Instagram influencers are distribution channels. So we can think about them the same way we would think about a billboard or a commercial
Hmm.
on television. And those things you purchase because they have the ability to get eyeballs on them. The same
Yeah.
way that someone might pay an influencer to do an ad because it brings eyeballs to them. What was so
Yeah.
awesome about this was that you guys didn't pay her. And when you get organic showing from an influencer, that's cherry on top.
Yeah, I think that I'm never going to knock anybody's hustle. If you're good at that and you can make money and put food on the table from that, that's awesome. And even if it's not your day-to-day job, like if you can pay for part of a vacation with that, that rules. That's so awesome. But I also think that somebody like her needs us as much as we need them. I need the content and I need to be able to recommend cool places. So, yeah, I'm going to post about this Cuckoo Bananas warehouse full of crazy decor. That'll help me have a big post and grow my brand. The right social media influencer just like makes a post and it blows up. And it helps them
Yeah.
and it helps the shop. I think it's a nice little relationship, even though it's completely informal. There's no agreement that we're going to do this, it just
Yeah.
happens. And I think it's great. Yeah.
There is so much content to get from Design 329. So, calling all influencers, you should stop by Design 329 if you want content.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also like such an opportunity here for a little bit more bespoke content. You can really tailor make it to reflect your personality too. And also because we're all such shopping addicts, come by in a month. This whole space will be all of this will
Hmm.
be different. It'll be completely new. So,
Yeah. Lots of opportunities. And it's interesting to think about how much your business has changed over the years as well. We've spoken before about how you used to be more online at one point, then you had in person at one point. I guess the question is, how has the industry changed from your perspective, and where could you see it kind of moving from here?
I think the industry has changed in a lot of ways. I feel like we're not as economically sound as we used to be nationwide in the US. It is a little bit harder for regular working class folks to buy pretty things. And I think because of that, you have to change your expectations as far as clientele goes. Now I have to, and all the other dealers have to change our expectations and focus on what we're going to do and who we're going to appeal to. And the reason I branched out and moved into this building is because the online selling was no longer a viable way to make income. I can't rely on this one thing. So all of a sudden, I'm in like four different directions, just trying to see what works and what sticks. 329 is now the core of my focus, but I'm not killing the online. I'm still going to do that. It's not as easy as being squirreled away in a hovel, not looking at anybody, and just taking photos until like 2 a.m. and then posting it online. I miss those days being in a warehouse by myself until all hours of the night doing God knows what. But those days are dead, and that's okay. You have to diversify. I had to very radically and quickly diversify what my business was. And I think if you don't, you'll sink.
How have you shifted your mindset throughout all of these different changes in the industry from being in your hovel in a warehouse all by yourself to now being in person, actively in front of your customer? How does that shift your energy, your perspective?
I accepted it as a thing that I had to do, so I'm going to do it. They seem so silly, but bear with me. I think this is like viable. Like, we were in a warehouse, and our warehouse was jam packed, and we would put like a coffee table in front of a chair, but we didn't stage things at our old place. People would come by, and you're like, "This is a mess." We're like, "Yeah, so what? Deal with it. I don't care. Like, buy it or don't." We were definitely more warehouse than showroom. But now
Mm-hmm.
I have to have a showroom, and I have to make sure it's like, well, that painting doesn't work above that chair. And actually, I need a different table in front of that chair. Maybe I should just move that chair. I need to go buy more chairs. Oh my God, I don't have enough chairs. And then you start freaking out because the presentability of all these little alcoves and vignettes that you have throughout the space. Like, this painting has to work with this painting, and has to work with this painting, and has to work with this piece of art. If it doesn't, then it's not cohesive. I had to change that. Before, we just stored things for utility, and I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
doing it sometimes, but I know that sounds so trite. I know, but like, I was an online
No.
dealer, like exclusively. Like, now I have to like do things. And also, here's a funny thing about selling online and when business was good. You could sell crap. Like, you could sell a bad painting you thrifted for $5 and you could put it online for 250, but if you had 300 of those paintings, one will sell every week, and then you just keep buying more.
Mm,
And just these bad like 60s and 70s hotel convention center art, like oil paintings that were just like painted, so if the decorative quality of it was good, you could sell that very easily. Or you're also looking for good stuff, but in the meantime, yeah, here's a $5 painting, screw it, I'll just sell this. I can't do that anymore. I can't sell bad
mm.
art. So now I have to be like, if this isn't good, I don't want it anymore. And not good for the sake of someone will buy it. Good in that it maintains a cohesiveness and a brand and an idea and a vision that I think is cool. That does mean
Mhm.
I had to liquidate a bunch of bad art and the bad stuff. Like, that was not bad. The quality wasn't as high as it used to be. In the late 2010s, selling bad art was so easy because somebody would like, "Oh, you know what? I like that painting. I'll give you $180 for it." Like, great. But now people are more discerning. They don't have as much wall space. They're not moving, so they're not cycling out art like they used to, or furniture or decor.
Mm,
So if they're going to buy something and they're going to spend good money on it, for like most working class people, $500 for a piece of art is a lot of money. And they're really
mhm.
going to be very diligent about making sure that that piece is right. So accommodating that has been a pretty big change.
That's a big shift. Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who's just starting out in the vintage world, what would it be?
This sounds so broad, but take your time. Really, really take your time. You can internalize a little bit more and you can think about what would make me a good dealer. I saw a lot
Mm,
of dealers jump in both feet very quickly, with shops opening up before they really learn what it means to sell vintage. Learn what you're good at. Learn what you like. Learn how to sell the thing that you like to people. Learn how to convince people that
mm,
this thing is good and it would actually complete your home. But also learn how to buy right. Learn what your margins should be. Learn how to do all the little minutia in a business that is crucial for running it effectively. Bookkeeping is important. Keeping receipts is
mm.
important. Keeping your mind on marketing is also important. And everyone really wants to do the buying and the selling and the presenting. Look at me. Look how cool my business is. And I understand that. But you have to do all the other parts of the business too, and take your time and learn those things before really jumping in. For example, in my case, I having art available and I want it to be affordable. I like having home decor be affordable. And it's part of the reason why I struggle to reach out to wealthier clientele and decorators who serve those types of clients, because I really want art for people like me. I want people like me to have
Yeah.
beautiful things in their homes. You shouldn't just have
Mhm.
bread. You need to have roses too. The roses to me is inspiring art that you love looking at every single day, or like that chair that when you sit in it you feel relaxed and comfortable. Like, that stuff is really important. We're not afforded meaningful comforts in life anymore. We're a very
Mhm.
convenience driven society, so we're always about Grubhub and Netflix and things
Yeah.
like that. But the tangible things in your life make a huge difference, and they really improve your day to day if you let them. And taking your time to learn how to market that and how to cultivate that and
Mhm.
curate that is everything. So yeah, take your
Yep.
time. Please take your
Yeah.
time, temper yourself. It's always a
Yeah.
good thing. And also, take your time with selling something. If it's one of a kind, it
Yeah.
takes a long time to sell those things sometimes. Other dealers, I see them get very impatient, like, oh my God, I need the money. I need that. It's like, no, just wait, relax, breathe,
Yeah.
take your time. Someone will come in and buy that and love it as much as you did when you first bought it. Just give it some time. So,
Hmm.
and frankly, there's a point where you have to ask yourself, am I standing out enough in this crowd? What am I doing? Am I taking enough time to identify how I'm selling modern or postmodern in a way that makes me stand out above the crowd?
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
sometimes people, yeah, I think some people fail because they don't. They just do that one thing and they think I could be like that guy
Hmm.
that's very successful, and then they're not, and then they're stuck. Take your
Yeah,
time,
that's
y'all.
so important. I love that.
Huge.
Back to what you were saying
Hmm.
about standing out. Literally, what I'm focused on at Business of
Hmm.
Vintage. I just put out a new offer called Build Your Brand, where I help vintage dealers identify what is different about them and how they can communicate that to their audience.
Hmm.
So, if that sounded like something that you maybe needed help with, reach out to me and let's wrap that up for you because that is an essential part of your business.
It's everything.
Even when you're selling one of a kind products, you have to be one of a kind as well. Your shop has to be one of a kind as well. In this
Hmm.
current online state, it takes a lot to stand out. So we
Yeah.
have to be
Yes.
clear about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Marvin, for taking the time to chat with me today on the
It was
Business of
my
Vintage
pleasure.
podcast. My pleasure. You are always such a breath of honest, fresh air and have such a great perspective after having so many years and such an incredible mentorship to bring you into the lovely vintage world of Chicago. If you want to share where people can find you online and in person.
Yeah, sure. You can find me at Benjamin Vintage and Design on Instagram, and it's benjaminvintageanddesign.com. And then I'm here at the Design at 329 warehouse. We're open every second and fourth Saturday and Sunday of a weekend. All of it is on our website, design at329.com, or the Instagram. And basically, I'm one of the many little fingers on the hands of this building. And there's a lot to go through. And I would appreciate if people come by here. I always like to talk about things. So ask me. Everything here has a story, and I know it. So, like, talk to me about it.
Oh my
And then I'll
gosh.
probably be doing the next Cincinnati Modernism show in mid-February. If you're around, Cincinnati is awesome to shop through and hang out. I'll be there.
How to
Yeah.
shop Marvin's incredible, one of a kind, unique art and decor and furniture collection. There is nothing like it,
Hmm.
truly.
Thank you, Sloan. You're
Awesome.
too kind. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you.